This is a presentation of the Sports Source Digital Network, presented by Hearthside Bank.
Welcome into the Sports Source Digital Network. I'm John Pennington, the shortest guy on set right here because I've got two VFLs right with me. We got Kevin Simon right here. We got OLLIE Lane right here. They're going to run through for you the offensive depth chart for Tennessee. We're through the spring practice. We're through the portal. It's closed now. Now, you can still get people out of there, but shouldn't have anybody going in, of course, in this day and age. Who knows? But they shouldn't have anybody else leaving. So we're going to look at the offense here. In another video, we'll take a look at the defense. But I'm going to turn it over to these guys. Kevin, OLLIE, talk to me about the offense.
All right. Looking at it from just a blind eye view, this is kind of how the depth chart breaks down a little bit. We're going to step it in position by position, starting with the offensive line. Obviously, my bread and butter, I know the offensive line very well. And when you're looking at it, looks like a lot of brand new names. Obviously, we talked about it a lot during the spring about who's playing, who's up here. But I mean, just pretty much starting off with the names, Lance Hurd, I think, is going to continue to hold down that left tackle position. I feel like you'd agree as well. Lance Hurd has done pretty well in the spring and continue to improve.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we have two starters returning on offense from a season ago. Lance Hurd's one of them. Similar to Darnell Wright, who took a big jump in year two with Ellerbe. Right, Ellerbe by coaching change. For Lance Hurd coming via the transfer portal, looking for him to take a big jump in year two. Hopefully he will be the linchpin of this offensive line and be a leader within that group. Yeah,
no doubt. I think a lot of his issues was the technical aspect of it. I think he's got the God-given talent and gifts and stuff. It's just putting it all together in a way that's going to work for him. When we start looking down more into the offensive line, your guard positions looking like it's going to be those two new transfers that came in, Wendell Moe and Sam Pendleton. Both had pretty productive springs. Obviously, hasn't had a lot of experience, both of them playing against some of the top-tier defensive linemen, and I think this spring getting in them with some of our defensive linemen has helped them out a lot in their progression. But it's also still an interesting battle that could reach on into the fall because you got Jesse Perry and Sham Umarov that have made a lot of jumps. I've heard a lot of good things about Jesse throughout the spring. He's continued to improve, and that he's got a potential to take that spot if he wants it.
Yeah, and really when you look across, Jesse sounds like he's going to be the sixth man. He's going to kind of take the utility job from Dane Davis a year ago. Where we got to plug him in, do the injury at a guard, plug him in, do the injury at a tackle. Jesse Perry seems to be that movable chess piece if things go awry.
Yeah, no doubt. And especially with this hole over here at right tackle, and since Larry Johnson has left us after the spring, definitely gives him that opportunity to be the utility man that every offensive line needs from time to time. When you're looking at the center position, I think Satterwhite's pretty much got that nailed down for the most part. Obviously, still some issues to clean up with the snaps, but that's just being a new center, getting adjusted to everything. You got a lot more responsibilities put on you when you get moved into that center position as far as getting everybody online. But to me, the number one thing you need to worry about is just snap. Everything else will kind of follow suit, but just get the snap right. But I believe looking at behind Satterwhite, probably looking at Sam Pendleton moving over like they've done a lot in the past, having that first-string guard move over to be the second-string center, especially with how strong your depth is at the guard right now. I mean, obviously we don't know total strength just because we haven't gotten to see them play a lot of live game reps, but I think that's probably how that one will play out.
Yeah, no doubt. And you've lived it, just being cross-trained as a guard, as a center, taking snaps daily in practice, to be able to be interchangeable in those spots.
Oh, yeah.
Now with David Sanders, listen, our prize possession, five-star pick, it looked like when I was at practice in early April, it looked like Larry Johnson was going to start over him. Maybe that was going to change. I honestly liked Larry when I saw him last season. But Larry ends up moving on. Now, hey, young man, you're getting your opportunity. Yeah. Really, his feet, length, athletic ability, you love all that. The thing that I'm a little concerned about is the physicality. He really needs a year to get stronger, but he's going to be pressed into service. So, Kurt Schmidt and those guys in the weight room got their work cut out for him. Yeah. Put a little weight on him, put a little strength on him, so he can get ready for a 12-game SEC season.
No doubt, and that's typical, I'd say, for someone 18 years old coming in fresh to a program. They need to get adjusted to the college level.
Yeah.
Need to get built up and strength up. I think from what he's shown on tape, he's got the gifts to be very, very talented. But like you said, he just needs to build up that college strength and be more of that college athlete that they're looking for.
Yeah, and Bennett Warren's another one, right, from the previous class, high 4-star Texas kid, guy who needed to change his body, came in at about 360 pounds.
Yeah.
He's gotten his weight down a little bit. So, so we'll see if he can jump into the mix as well.
Yeah, and then we start looking at the wide receivers. Obviously, you guys know Staley and Matthews. Those are going to be your two highlight guys for the most part. They were the highlights in the spring. Obviously, didn't have the production that they wanted last year, didn't get as much time as we wanted to see them. So hopefully, with them being kind of the star front, you're going to see a lot of them in there. But the depth chart, as it kind of breaks down with the wide receivers right now, it's still a little thin. However, they're going to continue to beef that up, I believe, just getting them talented or experience-wise ready to interchange throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, you only got 7 guys on scholarship. You're looking at Brazel and Radarius Jackson as being the X-receivers. Brazel's gonna be the starter there. And really, he's father time in the group. That's Unc. We're going to be dependent on him. Some of the highlight real catches that we saw last year, but then some of the drops. Hopefully he can smooth out some of those rough edges. Mike Matthews, and then a guy that I love, Smith. Just seeing him in person, the juice, the frame. I mean, he's a big athlete. Really might be the fastest out of this group of the receivers. Travis Smith is really excited to see him. And then these guys with Brandon Staley, Amari Jefferson, and Dotson. They're going to be in the slot. I know talking to Kelsey Pope in early April, he was saying that Staley's really taking a jump, loves his work habits, loves his leadership, son of a coach from back there in South Carolina. And then and I know that you mentioned Amari Jefferson, that you're excited to see him. The transfer from Alabama.
Yeah, no, especially since we didn't get to see him at all in the spring dealing with the injury. Want to be able to see what really talent he's bringing, what his full outfit is, I guess, is what I'm excited to see. And especially with how much this offense relies on wide receiver production. And we didn't have a lot of that last year. And, I mean, even you look 2 years ago, it wasn't what it needed to be like it was in 22. And I think that's 22 kind of set the bar of what we expect the offensive production to be. And so getting these guys ready to play and rotate in and out and being able to give that production, Pope said it a lot last year, the best is yet to come. Well, let's get the best on game 1 this year, and let's not wait till after Ohio State and say, well, we never got the best to come.
To your point, with an offense that's dependent on tempo, and the tempo is dependent on explosive plays in the passing game. And explosive plays being defined as passes 20 yards or more, these guys, they're going to have to show up and show out. And Joakim Dotson, a Baylor product from down there in Chattanooga, Eric Kimry was the head coach there, great offensive mind. He's been brought up the right way. And my guy, Bo, has been coaching him. So looking forward to see what he does.
Yeah. And then looking over at the tight ends again now, obviously we talked about it a little bit during the spring, but with Kinselman being out with that pectoral, it kind of shakes things up a little bit. Now, obviously, he's going to be back, I think, maybe in the season, maybe miss a couple games or something like that, just depending on how long that recovery process takes. But if you look at just where you're at right now, these are the 3 guys that you're really working with: Davis, Brandon, Harrison. Ethan Davis, everybody knows Ethan Davis pretty well now. He's a really athletic tight end. His blocking, I guess, is more of the concern. But I feel strongly enough that he's improved that. Coach Ablin's really gotten with him and worked with him a lot. Having a young coach like Coach Abe's to kind of work with them helps a lot with making connections and relationships and being able to build talent. And so I think Ethan's going to continue to improve. Now, the 2 freshmen, I think they got a lot of time in the spring just because having Kitzelman out halfway through the spring. But still young, inexperienced. So, I mean, there's just not a lot to know about them until they really get out there and start showing it.
Yeah, no doubt. So seeing Ethan Davis, man, he's changed his body. I mean, he looks great running around. And, Alec Ablin, just like you, offensive line guy at heart.
Exactly.
So bread and butter, let's get this get this run game going. So hopefully we'll see Ethan Davis take a step there. Kitzelman's the only other starter that we have returning. And really, he's father time in the group. They'll look to him for leadership, and really he's that movable chess piece, whether it's 21 personnel, 11 personnel, 12 personnel, whatever we're doing, he's the guy that can kind of make it all make sense.
Yeah. And then you look at, as you said, the running game, big aspect of us. Looking at the running back room, I think these 3 guys are going to be somewhat interchangeable to a point, a three-man running back crew. However, I believe that, in my opinion, I think Bishop's going to take off the first set always. I think he's proven himself to be a really good back. He played really well for us last year. And also, being a Knoxville hometown kid, he's got a lot of pride in the program, and I enjoy watching that. However, Peyton Lewis has really improved. Last year coming in, there was a lot of notoriety and hype around him, and I don't think they used him enough. But in the spring and stuff, his body's changed. He's continued to improve. It seems like he's gotten a little faster. So it'll be exciting to see. And then obviously you got Star Thomas from Duke. Graduate transfer, older guy, more experienced, probably is going to be able to handle some harder situational stuff in that rotation.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be running back by committee, right? And that's pretty much what we've seen any year in the Hypo area, except for last year when you were just letting Dylan Sampson carry the mail. Obviously, man, Deshaun Bishop, the violence he runs with, the pass protection, he stands for everything you want in the program. But Peyton Lewis, that guy, of everybody I saw when I was at practice, he was the most impressive. Really looks like he took a jump. 10 500-meter guy in high school. Now he's playing fast like that. And, the guy looks like a Greek god. He's like 225 pounds and like 6'1", and, he hasn't missed his Wheaties. And then Star Thomas, like you said, another depth piece. We'll see if he can get himself in the mix to get regular carries like the top two. If he can, he got a three-headed monster.
Now, save the best for last. Going to talk about the quarterback situation. Obviously, bringing in the new quarterback with Aguilar, but you still got Merklinger and McIntyre in the backfield that can interchange. I feel like the advantage has to go to Aguilar, who's going to be the starter just because he's got the experience, and they've went out and got him in the transfer portal. However, I want to say that there might be some type of quarterback competition this fall. However, the fall is not a great time to have position competitions. I'm sure you know when you're trying to get ready for a season, you don't want to be figuring out who's playing what position. However, from what we've seen on tape from him from App State, I think he's going to be very well proven for this offense. It's just getting him into the scheme, learning everything, and be able to soak everything in. These guys already got that in for the most part. Obviously, they're still young and still got some things to learn. But this guy's got game reps, game experience that I think plays a little bit to his advantage in earning that starting position.
Yeah, and one thing that throws a wrench into it is UCLA, they're on a quarters program in California. The UC system, they don't finish school until June. So, they're having to do Zoom meetings with Aguilar to get him up to speed. Joey Halsley, Hypo, and the whole gang. Aguilar is interesting because when you watch him at Appalachian State, you could take his highlight plays and make him look like an All-American. Or you can take his low-light plays and make him look like, I don't know if this guy should be on the field. So we'll see if he can smooth out some of those rough edges. But he's got talent. He can make the throws. I think just from a decision-making process, sometimes it's almost like he's playing the game like he's throwing on air. And he doesn't always discriminate on when there's defenders around to be able to pick off a potential ball. Hopefully he can smooth that out as he gets here. But sometimes with a quarterback, they have a turnover gene. When a guy turns the ball over, they continue to do it. And that's one of the things, like looking at guys from college to the NFL, guys that turned it over in college, they turned it over in the NFL. But hopefully he can, this leopard can change his spots.
Let me ask you this, guys. Good job, by the way. I'm stepping in to be the bad guy. I got a couple questions for you, and now that we're at the quarterback situation, we'll end with this. Talk to me about the fact that, Hypo's system, you look back, he doesn't have any quarterbacks who's hit double digits in turnovers. So I remember when Justin Hamilton, former defense coordinator at Virginia Tech, was on our Sunday show talking about Hendon Hooker, and I was bragging on Hooker. I was like, my gosh, 2 interceptions, 3 interceptions. Can you believe that's all he's thrown? And he's like, it's the system. And I'm like, well, but come on, you got to give him credit for this. And he's like, oh, I'll give him credit, but it's the system. So how much will Hypo's system help to cut back on his turnover numbers that he's put up at Appy State, or is he just a guy who's loose with the football, in your opinion?
When I watch him, he's running similar plays to what we run here. There's more short to intermediate passing game, not as much deep ball throws. To be fair, he didn't have very much help.
Right.
His receiving core was, and the offensive line was.
Sorry, guys.
But so he'll have a better supporting cast here. Listen. So for me, with Nico, processing could be an issue at times. He would hold the ball. With him,
could be the opposite.
It's the processing is an issue at times. he's throwing it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I feel like the interceptions come. Is it doesn't matter if he's throwing it just like they're in practice. So I'm sure there's times in practice that you don't even notice that those balls are going to be picked off because he feels like he's giving this guy a chance. I still think from decision-making process, he has to be more discerning. Listen, Jared Garantano had some of the same issues with a bunch of talent. So there's some similar reasons there. I don't know Joey, so I don't know if the reasons why he's throwing interceptions are similar to Jared Garantano, but the end result's similar.
Ollie, let me ask you one question from an offensive line standpoint. You had to step in and play center on occasion. You've got, everybody wants to run tempo. Tempo is such a big part of this offense. You're going to have a new center with a new quarterback, and they never work together.
Yeah.
How much tempo can you run? How quickly can they get up to speed, literally, with two new guys who haven't worked together in a tempo offense? Now, he's run tempo at Appy State, but it isn't this system with this center.
Well, I can tell you first, this summer and this fall are going to be super important because you got to build that relationship. You got to have that relationship with one another to be able to get, all right, this is when I'm ready to snap the ball, or hey, when you see me, drop my butt down, ready to snap it, that's when you clap. There's got to be some cues, some visual cues that they both are on the same page with, because that's some of the things that happen, with me and Joe. Me and Joe weren't always on the same page when I'd hop in there at center because he'd be with Coop for half the game, and then I'd have to hop over there. And so there was some miscommunications there, like, hey, I wasn't ready to snap the ball there, or hey, I've been ready for a while, let's clap it. And so, there's a lot of intricate parts of getting on the same page, to your point. But I think if you really focus on that in the summer and the fall, and it also just depends on who they're going to end up choosing to be that quarterback, because then that way you can really focus on it and get more of that work done.
Okay, last question for you guys. Let's be quick here. We'll end on a positive, so I'll start with a negative. The one position, and it may just be quarterback because it's new, what's the one position you're most concerned about right now coming out of spring?
The one I'm most concerned about, and it's probably just because I am an offensive line, I'm concerned about the offensive line.
The whole line. Four new starters.
4 new starters I'm concerned about. Lance, I'm not concerned about. I think he's going to be really good and continue to improve. The other 4, I just haven't seen enough of them. I haven't seen them really play in the third quarter at Alabama and see what's going to happen. There's a difference there from doing it in practice and then going down to Tuscaloosa and doing it. So, that's probably where my most concern lies.
And it's not like you're just plugging in one guy and everybody else has the chemistry and the communications that are down. It's 4 new guys who are all having to learn one another. Kevin, what position are you most concerned about?
Yeah, quarterback for sure. Just watching Merklinger. Listen, he's doing his thing, but he's got a ways to go before he's going to be ready. George is more talented than Merklinger, but it's the same thing. He just got here. Yeah, it's gonna be a ways to go. So, I guess for me, if Aguilar doesn't solve, because there's a few ifs. If he does this, if he does that, if he doesn't solve those issues, things are gonna they're going to go awry pretty quick, just because this system it's a quarterback and receiver-driven system. A lot falls on that guy's hands to get the ball in the playmaker's hands. So if he's turning the ball over at a high clip, that's not going to be good. So that's the one thing I'm worried about.
What feel best about? What position do you feel best about, Kevin? I'll let Ollie finish.
I feel best about the running backs. I think these guys. One, we've seen both of them in games. Both 2 top guys. Star Thomas, he's competed in games.
Yeah.
Those guys, they can compete at a winning level in the SEC.
You took mine. I was going to say the backs, but the second best I feel best about is tight ends. I feel good about them just because Ethan's been there for 3 years. I think he's going to be able to be good and experienced in there, and hopefully you get Miles back soon enough. And
I started to say you feel good about it when
Miles comes back. That's the second best I feel good about.
All right. Hey, Kevin Simon, Ollie Lane, appreciate you guys doing this. Appreciate you watching. If you like content like this, be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. That way you'll know when all our videos go up here. Leave a comment if you disagree with these guys. Of course, they'll come whoop you. But go ahead, leave a comment. We'll see you the next time on the Sports Source Digital Network.